Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Chris with InsideTheU. Thanks for stopping by after this game, but also all season long. I enjoy providing some insight into some things that I see after each and every game, and I want to thank you guys for sticking by it all season long, even though it's been very disappointing. And today was also disappointing. Miami loses 42-16 to Pittsburgh, finishes 5-7, 3-5 in the ACC, worst record since 2007, and they've only done that 5-7 teams twice since 1977. So there's a lot to get into with this one. Why did it all fall apart? All these things with the season. I will certainly get into that. I don't want to spend too much time on today's performance, although I will say it was just very disappointing that this team did not come to play, that they couldn't overcome adversity early on. Tyler Van Dyke tried to play, comes out of the game for the third time this season with an injury, and they just couldn't get anything going on offense. Coaching staff decides to throw Jakari Brown in there, throws an interception on his first series, gets benched. They go with Jake Garcia. Just couldn't get anything going. And the defense giving up big plays, over 40 points once again for the fifth time this season, which is a school record. So a lot of disappointing things happened from this game that we've seen all season long, and they just couldn't get anything going today. They couldn't get to a bowl. And to me, I find that disappointing that they couldn't find some way to find success late in the year. So there's plenty to discuss of why it all went wrong, but I want to focus about moving forward because there were some things after the game that Coach Cristobal said and safety Cam Kitchens had to say that I want to talk about because that's what's on my mind right now. It's what I wanted to talk to reporters about after the press conference because there's a lot to talk about with the season and what's going to happen. And yes, there's no way other than to say it's been disappointing, extremely awful for what was expected of this team this year. Expect to win the Coastal. I thought personally it was fair expectations coming into the year for them to have a good season, and they just did not do that. So after the game, Coach Cristobal was asked about how he's going to assess the season and everything like that with the players and the coaches and himself, and really he's confident. You know, he's definitely confident that what they've done is going to work moving forward. We'll see how everything pans out in terms of the coaching staff, if they want to go a different route. And certainly players are going to go a different route as well. And I think with what he said was, look, this is essentially a benchmark. Now they know exactly with where they're at. And certainly I think they misevaluated some things in the offseason, in the spring, with what they thought they had and what they thought they could do and be effective this year. And it just didn't work. Whether it was running the ball, passing the ball, they couldn't find a lot of success, and certainly the offense had a lot of injuries this year. You can't ignore it, but even when guys were healthy, it just didn't look great, and they struggled for most of the year regardless of the opponent. And defensively gave up way too many points. One thing that I will say that was disappointing today, no tackles for loss today, and Miami came into the game averaging 7.5 a game, second in the ACC, and to have 0 tackles for loss was certainly disappointing. They give up a 100-yard rusher for the second time this year, just the second time. And they give up a big receiving performance from Jared Wayne, certainly a good receiver, but he goes for a big number, over 10 catches, 3 touchdowns, nearly 200 yards, so a big performance out of him today. The fact that Miami couldn't slow him down was disappointing, but the defense as a whole, it just couldn't get enough done. Now they know exactly what they have. Certainly guys are going to leave, and they're going to have to figure out a way to plug holes, whether it's through the transfer portal, hopefully get some immediate success, immediate returns, or just do well with recruiting. And I'm very curious, obviously, to see how things go with guys sticking around, who's going to stick around. Okay, now that I got all that out of the way, this is what I really want to talk about, and it's what Cam Kitchens said to the media in the post-game press conference. It's what teammates said about him. It's what Coach Cristobal had to say about him as well. But really, it's about what he said to the team afterwards. He was the only player that spoke up after the coaches spoke. As far as we know, it was Coach Cristobal, but Cam Kitchens was the only player that stood up in front of the group, and Cam said the reason why he did, he's like, nobody else was going to talk, so he figured he could step up and talk. And his message to the team was certainly, you know, somewhat positive, but also like, look, if you're going to go, then go. If you want to be a part of this, then be a part of this. And I think that's what we're going to find out moving forward. I think all the guys that want to leave are going to hit the portal immediately. It's going to be known. It's already been known on some of these guys. I do expect the number to be a lot. However, whoever's coming back, you got to feel confident, and those are the guys that Mario Cristobal wants as a staff, because Cristobal did say, look, regardless of the narrative, and he can say if they want to move on, but he didn't want to do that, but he said there are going to certainly be guys that aren't going to be asked back. So whoever's coming back, that means the coaches feel comfortable and confident either in their development, or they saw enough from them this year that they want them back. and the players are going to know this is what happens with this coaching staff, with Coach Cristobal, and they know what to expect, and they can decide if they want to be a part of it or not. I'll be very curious to see what the freshman class decides to do, because those are the guys that were recruited by Cristobal. They've not played for another head coach, so it will be very interesting to see if all of those guys will come back, and hopefully a lot of them do, because there are some guys I think with bright futures. So in addition to the things that Cam had to say to the team, which in my mind, I think he's stepping up as a leader for the 2023 season. Even though this season just ended, because of his play, with his high-level performances, with his extra work in the film room, and his just overall work ethic and his belief in this university and this program, certainly I believe he's stepping up as a leader, even though this season just ended. But definitely I'm going to write an article on InsideTheU more about this and kind of what was said about Cam moving forward. But in addition to the things he said to the team, there was another thing that stood out to me too with Cam. And somebody asked him about, where do you go from here? Looking ahead, what does the future kind of look for you in terms of, academic stuff, and final exams are coming up soon. But he said, look, even though the season ends, the next day on Sunday, he plans to get right to work and get prepared for the next season. This guy wants to continue to grind, continue to work. And the one thing he said was, look, if other guys are going to come, that's great. If not, I'll be by myself. It is what it is. So I find that very interesting. And I think that's great. Obviously, it's great. If that guy has those kind of things, if that's what he wants to do, that's obviously great. You always want a grinder. So I think one of the keys to being a good leader is sometimes you've got to get people to do what either they don't want to do, or you've got to push them, or sometimes bring them along. So just because they decide to come back and everything like that, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to essentially operate exactly the way that Cam does, or I'm using Cam as an example because he's the one that we're talking about right now. But that's okay. Cam as a leader has to understand that and show people the ropes and show people how it's done, especially young guys, or maybe they want to be like him, but they don't know exactly how, or maybe they didn't have the guidance either growing up from their coaches or their programs. Not everybody played at Northwestern. Not everybody's kind of built like Cam. So I think it's going to be very important. I think it's great that he's willing to work on his own. So hopefully Cam leads the way and leads this off-season charge. I'm very curious to see who decides to stick around. And maybe they are going to have that kind of mentality moving forward. So that will be key. Off-season's big for this program now. So there will certainly be plenty of more discussion, maybe my thoughts on the off season as I think about things, and certainly going to be breaking things down a lot more. And stay with the news on InsideTheU.com. We've got plenty of updates, live updates on everything going on with the transfer portal, things we're hearing, and we'll definitely keep you guys updated. And certainly stay tuned to the channel for some reaction stuff and kind of get some more expertise on these players as they come to the program, like I've done in the past, with reporters that know about these players. I find that to be very interesting, so definitely stay tuned there. I'm going to keep grinding. I know the team's going to keep grinding. Mario Cristobal, I will say this, it has been a disappointing season. There's no doubt about it. He definitely deserves a lot of blame on that as the head coach. That's where it goes to. What I will say is I find him to be extremely determined. The ways that he knows, the experience that he's had, he's going to do everything he can to try to get this thing going in the right direction. He certainly cares about the program. He wants to see it done right. This isn't a stepping stone job for him. This is it for him. He wants this thing to succeed. I know he's going to work hard from player talent acquisitions, trying to find the right coaches, the right scheme now that he knows. So certainly this should be the low point in Mario Cristobal's tenure at Miami, and if not, he's definitely going to have a short tenure at Miami if these kind of seasons continues. That goes without saying. So we'll definitely see how everything goes moving forward. Once again, just want to thank everybody for showing your support through the channel, watching these videos, but I really like reading your comments. I always find the support great, and also I understand that you guys are disappointed as well, and that's fine too. So you could definitely put those comments, definitely keep it clean, or else it'll get flagged and it won't be able to be posted. So definitely stay tuned to InsideTheU.com. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully you have a good rest of the holiday season coming up, and take care.